Lola Tomorrow is the former aide to Michelle Obama and the brains and power behind the TMRWLive virtual experience. She is an accomplished events executive with more than 15 years of experience curating highly successful corporate events, galas, conventions, and industry conferences. Her unique gift is creating strategic connections to maximize the impact of women and business leaders globally. Her mission with TMRWLive is to help faith-driven women in business gain access to community, capital, and connections to expand their reach, impact, and influence globally. Hello and welcome to Talk Business with Lola.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. We've got to start off at the beginning. Wow. How does someone become an aide to the First Lady? Take us back to the beginning. What happened?
So I was right out of college. I was working a job as a event planner, planning events. The organization I was working for at the time is called National PTA, Parent Teachers Association. I was working for their national office, and sure enough, we got confirmation about 2 weeks before one of our annual events that First Lady Michelle Obama was our keynote speaker. And so naturally, everybody in the office is going crazy. Yeah. We're so excited. The First Lady is coming to our event. Now, I just so happened to be the event planner in charge. And so really, I ran every detail as it pertained to that event. Little did I know that there were people from the White House team that was watching me the entire time. And afterwards, they literally just walked up to me and say, "Hey, you should be on the team." It's like, what? What do you mean? What team? And all I know is 2 weeks later, I was traveling the world with the First Lady of the United States, working on her events outside of the White House.
That is crazy. So we're talking, there's no CV, no interview process. You're just hired straight away, right?
You're just hired. You're just selected. Wow. And that's really how that world works, where, it's, we're not for all positions, but because I was not technically a White House employee. But for the position that I was in, it's all about who you know. It's all about them seeing the right talent and inviting you to join the team. And so here I am.
Wow. So there's got to be so many memorable moments, through this season in your life, Lola. Talk us through that first day.
Yeah, the first time I did an event with the First Lady, I was nervous out of my mind because, first of all, I don't come from a political background, meaning there were certain terms that people who work at the White House and they're into politics. I had to write those terms down and go back and forth with them later. And I'm like, wait, what's that? I don't know what that is, Yeah. And so I really did not know anything, and so many times I think, especially for women, we feel like we need to be prepared. We feel like we need to know. And the one thing that working with the First Lady has taught me is that you don't need to know everything and you don't always need to be prepared. You just need to have a willing and obedient posture to where you can learn and you're willing to do what it takes to really be able to show up for that opportunity. Yeah. And so the first day I was just nervous. I was like an intern, or I felt like an intern, but I had so much responsibility. The thing I always would think about is I can do one thing that could go wrong, that could cost someone their life, or that could make international news. Like this is not a little small job. And so I was just there and I was willing to learn. And on the first day, I was really grateful to connect to White House staff and different advanced staff that they've been doing this for years. So they took me under their wings right away and they started training me, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do that. And so though it was nerve-wracking, before I knew it, I was leading the events and I wasn't just there to be the run girl as I was at first.
So what are some of your favorite stories from this season in your life, Lola?
I would say one of my most favorite story would have to be, and I'm not going to say who the person is, but it is a hilarious story. I was at an event with the First Lady in New York. Okay. We did an event I think it was around campaign. It was a campaign event. I was in the restroom. All right. Now, any major female celebrity you can think of in your mind right now was at this event. Okay.
Yeah.
I was in the restroom, and like I always used to do as a kid, I still sometimes do as an adult, where I go into the bathroom and I don't look to see if there's tissue. And so I'm in the restroom and I'm like, crap, there's no tissue. I knock on the stall next to me and I asked for tissue, and she gave me tissue. And when I got out the stall, it was one of the biggest celebrities in the world. And I'm like, did you just give me tissue? And she laughed and she said yes. And I mean, that was just such a surreal moment. I've had many moments like that because working with the First Lady, you naturally get exposed to so many different people that love the Obamas, that love the administration. Yeah. And so just a lot of crazy moments like that with, the biggest stars in the world where they're passing me tissue underneath the stall. So that was one of my funniest stories, and something I think I'll never forget. I'll tell my kids about that.
For sure. Well, Lola, I don't feel like we can move away from this question until you at least give us a clue as to who this person was, right?
I'm just going to say is one of the most popular stars in the world. I don't think there's a human breathing that doesn't know who she is.
Really? Wow.
I'll leave it at that. She gave me tissue and she was happy to do so.
I heard you, and when we first met, I heard you telling the story on Clubhouse about how you found out quickly what food that Michelle Obama likes and doesn't like. Tell us about that story, Lola.
Yeah, so this was a story where, I got a call from, I don't remember who called me, but someone from the White House team. The First Lady she wanted to eat, okay? She just wanted a meal, all right? That's what humans do. Humans eat food. And so I had never been responsible for feeding her. So I didn't know. I'm like, what she got a taste for? She, wants some, filet mignon, or she want McDonald's? What does she want exactly? And they were so nonchalant. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday, because here I am trying, like, freaking out, and they're like, just figure it out. She wants some food. So I go to the chef in the restaurant that was connected to the place that we were at. And the chef is obviously, what chef does not want to prepare a meal for the First Lady of the United States? So he's excited. He's like, I have this. And so he told me what he was going to prepare. And I'm like, great. Sounds good to me. It's healthy. I know she, eats healthy, whatever. I get to the room with wait staff, and a part of this meal was like a beet salad. And long story short, I found out very quickly that the First Lady does not like beets. And I was so embarrassed, because I guess I should have known that. But she does not like beets. And so we had to take the meal back and prepare something else for her. And this was such a moment for me in my career, because, people see one thing of a person publicly, but I think behind closed doors, who a person is, how a person handles people, says a lot. And in that moment, I mean, how are you after you've been traveling all day and you have not had food, and the food comes and it's the wrong food? Yeah. How am I when that happens? Yeah. And when I tell you, she was so gracious, she was so gracious. And it was a real moment for me as a leader, because I know for me, I get hangry for me. I live for about myself. Yeah. And how in that moment, that could have been a moment where I probably should have already known that, but I didn't. Not only should I have known that, I should have probably asked those questions. I didn't ask the right questions. Yeah. And so that was a moment for me to grow. And instead of her being mad or upset or whatever, she was just gracious. Yeah. And she was understanding. And so I was so embarrassed. Because I'm also a perfectionist. So you take a perfectionist who is now serving the First Lady food that she don't like. I'm like, oh my God, how did I not know that? And so, yeah.
You mentioned how gracious she was in that moment, Lola. What was Michelle Obama like as a boss? What kind of leader was she? And how did you grow under her leadership?
I'm telling you, there's just so many major moments in my life and career that she's impacted indirectly. Something as small as we were on site at an event, and we were running behind for the next event that she had to be at. And so we had a game plan that we were going to, at the end of her speech, we were going to, leave, and Secret Service was going to kind of direct us. And as people from the audience will naturally call for her, Secret Service will kind of block it. And I'll never forget, we had this plan, and the plan was, after your speech, we have to go. We don't have time to talk to people. She said, okay, she was on it. After that speech, there was a young boy that was calling for her. And we're doing our jobs, Secret Service is blocking it. And she's like, no, and she goes and talks to that young man. See, those are moments where inside as her team, we know the plan was for her not to talk to anyone. Yeah. But this woman loves people so much that this is not just a front that happens for the cameras or so that people can see. This is what she lives every single day. And so those were powerful moments for me to just see when you're doing great work and you're on a mission to do things to change the world, influence the world. Never forget the number one priority. And that number one priority is serving people, loving people, making a person feel valuable and feel important, whether it's the homeless person on the street or it's a world leader, making that person. And that's the thing that I love and respected so much about her, is that whether we were in a room with global leaders or we were in a room with volunteers, like her passion, her posture as a leader, as a person would never change. Yeah. And those are game-changing things that are priceless things that I learned while working with her.
Yeah. We spoke at the top of this interview when we introduced you that one of your gifts is how you're able to build strategic relationships. How do you do that? And also, how do you maintain these relationships as your network grows?
So I think the way that I'm able to build strategic relationships is I believe in having relationships that have, that pour into you just as much as you pour into them. So the first thing is, a lot of times when people see, I hear people telling me all the time, oh my God, I want Oprah to be my mentor. Yeah, you and 10,000 other people, right? So when you have people of value, when you have people of influence, whether they're a celebrity, whether they run a business, no matter who they are, the question is, how can you add value to them and to who they are and to what it is that they're doing? What can you do to add value? And I am very intentional about building relationships where I can add value. And my goal is to build relationships with people where I can add value, but not just me adding value, them having the same mindset about how they can add value to me. Yeah. So that's the way that I am very strategic about building my relationships. The second thing is I have a wide network. I have a wide network. And with this network that I have, I am very, very, very mindful to not ask for certain things. Let me give you an example. I have a mentor in my life. She's been in my life for a number of years, and she's a billionaire. She was born into billions. She has a lot of she just has money. She's been in my life for almost 8 years, and I have never asked her for anything. Yeah. I mean, last year I took 21 teen girls to London on an all expense paid trip. I didn't have the money to do that. Last minute, I was making fundraising. I didn't call her and say, hey, can you help me get these girls to London? I have never asked her for anything. So I think that it's also important for people who are wanting and desiring more people and access to more things, that you have to know how to navigate in these different worlds. You have to know when you're connected to a billionaire, one, that she's getting thousands of people that are asking her for money every single day. Yeah. So if you're trying to build deep, long-lasting relationships, you have to be postured to be different in these spaces. And if you just want to build the relationships just based off of what you can get from someone, in my opinion, now everyone has their own different core values. For me, that's against my core value, because I don't build relationships based off of what I can get from someone. Yeah. I build relationships based off of what I can give. Yeah. And the desire is for that person to be postured the same way. So there's a balance in the relationship. And so that's how I build these strategic relationships. That's how I'm able to make the different moves that I'm able to make right now, working on an event with Kris Jenner. Like, I'm not able to do that just because I'm so great. I'm able to do that because I leverage my relationships and I have the wisdom to know what to ask my relationships. I would never ask my mentor for money, but I would ask her for the contact to book Kris Jenner. You know, like you have to know how to balance those different relationships and what are triggers. You know, early on with my mentor, she told me very quickly, I was able to hear that a fear and the insecurity of hers as a person was people always want her money. So for me, I wanted to come into her space and add value. The way we started working together is I was volunteering with her. That's how we even started our relationship, where I was volunteering. And so it's not just about building these relationships, it's knowing how to navigate in this world once you kind of have them. Yeah. And I think that that's something that I've been very strategic about, which is why now I can probably ask for almost anything and people will do it because I don't really ask and I know what to go to people for.
Yeah. You mentioned that your network was wide and global. I need you to tell us about that because I've got, you know, probably 20 or 30 close friends in my phone book and I struggle to keep in touch with them on a regular basis. So how do you maintain your network, Lola?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me tell you something my mentor taught me. When I say my network is wide and global, that means I have access to a lot of people. It doesn't mean that these people are in my intimate personal space and I'm talking to them every day or every week or every month. Yeah. But it means that I have access to them. And this is the one thing I learned while working with my mentor. And also I want you guys to hear this as well, because this is a woman that was born into billions. She doesn't know anything but wealth. You know, she's in one part of one of the wealthiest families in the world. And let me tell you what I learned when I worked for her, when I was volunteering for her. What I learned is she would do something where every month she would have me pull up the birthdays or the special, if someone in her Rolodex just had a baby, she would literally budget every single month to send gifts to these people. And I remember one time I ordered, it was like a little Gucci something that she had me order. It was like $2,000. And I remember asking her, like, this must be a close friend. And she was like, no, I've never met him. We just had a business deal a few years ago and I like him. So he just had a baby and want to send his baby something. And what she showed me, now she's on a different financial level than I am because I'm not sending nobody a $2,000 baby jumpy. But what she showed me is that there's ways you can touch people and let them know that you are thinking about them, you appreciate them, you value them without feeling like you have to sit on the phone with people or you got to send an email once a month. So something I do in my business is twice a year, I go through my Rolodex and I send people gifts. Depending on where we are financially that year, it might be every woman gets a floral arrangement, or it might be everybody gets a card with a $20 Starbucks gift card in it. Like, there are small ways you can make sure people who are part of your network that they know that, one, you're thinking about them as you're scaling, as you're growing, or something as small as this conference I'm doing with Kris Jenner. Before the conference, I sent out a mass gift to my network because this conference was highly successful and I could not have done it if it was not for the people that I'm able to call, I'm able to text, I'm able to do X, Y, and Z. So I sent them a gift and I sent them some beautiful literature, like with the event stuff on it. So, because some of them don't know what I'm doing. And so I mailed all of that out to everyone. So these are like little small ways. So I want to give that tip that whether it's a $5 Starbucks gift card, don't feel intimidated if it's like, oh, I can't afford to. It could be a cup of coffee for someone. It's all about how you make someone feel like they're valued. And even if it's not a cup of coffee, some people, you just sending them a handwritten letter. It's like, who does that in 2021? Nobody, right? Just letting them know that you're thinking of them or you appreciate them. And so that's something that I've learned to do. And I've been doing that for years. And what it does is it always gives you access to people. I cannot talk to someone for 2 or 3 years and just send them a random card. When I call them, guess what? They're going to take my call.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. You've been very successful in the event planning world. Tell us about that, Lola.
Yeah, so I plan corporate events. That's really what my sweet spot is. I am really an expert at planning events that draw anywhere between 2,500 up to 75,000 attendees.
Wow.
And so in this world, people think that a lot of times people are like, oh, are you a wedding planner? Or, oh, do you do this type of event? I'm going to be honest. The people that do all of those pretty events and things that you see online, I hire those people. That's not my sweet spot. I am really a sophisticated, high-level project manager. You can put 10,000 people in the room and I will have control of the entire room and everybody in the room. And so that is my sweet spot. And so though my title is a corporate event planner, I'm really like the project manager. I'm the person navigating registration and navigating the sponsors and navigating all the different moving parts. I don't make events pretty. I hire people to make them pretty. I just make them organized and I make them run efficiently. Yeah. And I make them profitable.
Yeah. You've got this new event starting in a couple of weeks, Tomorrow Live. Tell us about that. Tell us about how you came up with the idea as well and how you pulled it all together.
Yeah, so last year I was scaling for last year to be my most profitable year in business. By March, I had made more money in my business than I had made the entire years prior. And so when coronavirus hit, I mean, I was losing probably about $100,000 a week starting in March, because you got to remember, I specialize in large scale events. Yeah. So all of my clients are events drawing 3,000, 4,000, like these are big events. And one by one, events started getting canceled. Events started getting turning to online. And all of these different things started to really happen. And I had to make a decision on how I wanted to pivot. Did I want to pivot and go into the corporate world to train them? Because here's the thing about online events. I've been doing online events since 2010. This is not a new thing. It's probably more so new to everyday people. But in the corporate world, we just called them hybrid events, where we will have portion of the event in person and the other portion will stream online. I've been streaming hybrid events to 20, 30,000 people since 2010. So I had to make the decision. Did I want to teach these new corporations how to master this online space? Or did I want to start my own thing? Because I already had a little bit of an advantage about how to master it. And so I decided to start my own thing. Now, here's the challenge. Though I am a person of faith, I am one of those believers where I actually respect everyone's belief. And I think it's a beautiful thing for us to live in a world where we can believe different things, but still live in harmony. Not only do I respect everyone's belief, I believe that your faith is your silent strength. You don't have to lead with it. You don't have to have the I love God t-shirt. And so I've always been one of those type of believers where I wanted you to know something was different about me with the way I interact with people, with my presence, looking at the way I respond to conflict, looking at the way I respond to situations. So when God gave me this idea to start an organization that was geared to faith-driven women, I had a few issues about it. You know, I know most people probably don't question God, but I'm like, wait a minute. Are you sure? Are you sure you want me to do it like this? And so I jumped out and I did it, but I knew that I was not supposed to do it in the traditional way. The first person that came to my mind as my keynote speaker was Kris Jenner. My first thoughts when Kris Jenner came to my mind was she's probably one of the biggest celebrities in the world. How am I going to afford Kris Jenner? Who paying for her to come? Okay, like that's my question. She's a good idea. But a lot of time when it's a God idea, all you need to do is be obedient. The resources and everything you need come after your obedience. And so I was obedient and my entire event was paid for before I even started, including Chris's, all of that good stuff. So that's how it started. I also have a desire to help people of faith in general get access to more capital, get access to more community and all of this stuff, because we need to be more wealthy. And the reason why we need to be more wealthy is not just so we can have stuff, but just so we can be an extension of God's hands here on earth. Like, how powerful is it to, yes, pray and send positive energy and positive vibes when catastrophe happens. But how much more powerful if we can pray and write a check? How powerful is it when we can get 10 of our friends together and we can come together and write checks that can change our entire communities? We can write checks that can take homeless people off the street. So really my heart behind TMRWLive is to help women of faith in business get to the scale to multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, and 8 figures in business so that they can have more capital so that they can have more impact.
Yeah. And how do you go about marketing an event like this? And how do you also measure success, Lola?
Yeah, so there are 2 ways I measure success. And this is a little bit, I'm learning this, this process that I'm about to give you. So when you have passionate entrepreneurs like myself, and you got to also remember, I was bankrupt years ago and I was homeless years ago. So I am one of those entrepreneurs where I am willing to sacrifice, or I was willing to sacrifice and give all for the success of my business. That is not healthy thinking, and I do not teach that. I do not believe entrepreneurs need to be homeless, need to be bankrupt in order to get success. We've started to create this norm where it's normal to neglect yourself. Because I don't know an entrepreneur that's sleeping in the backseat of their car that's not probably depressed or almost depressed or suicidal or almost suicidal. So we have this entity where we neglect our emotional and mental health for success. And I don't think that that's balanced. And so I feel that as I am building what I am building, I feel like the key component of all of this is making sure people understand that it's a real journey. And it doesn't mean that you won't have sacrifice. You will have sacrifice. There were seasons, I'm a girly girl. I get my hair done every week. I get my nails done every 10 days. I enjoy doing it. There were seasons where I got my hair done every 3 months, right? That's sacrifice. Like you go to build. There was a season where I literally left my luxury condo and all the things that I have, and I moved back in with my parents. That was sacrifice, and so there are different levels of sacrifice that you will have as you're building the journey. But I think it's important that entrepreneurs are being taught and we're learning to also prioritize ourselves. And so when you have entrepreneurs that are passionate and they're driven by passion, they love what they do, they love humans, they can very easily get into a space where running a profitable business is not priority to them. And I got to break it down. If you are not running a business that's meant to generate profit, that's not a business. You're in ministry. We got to get the right label on this, because when you have the label of business, the goal of business is to make profit. But a lot of times what I'm finding with passionate driven entrepreneurs, their goal of business is to first and only make impact, right? But why is it that we cannot make both simultaneously? And that is how I am learning to measure success for myself. Measuring success, and when I say profitable, everything doesn't have to be dollar for dollar. There are some things that you get profits in other ways. So for me, I'm able to measure my success with what my numbers look like. Because I'm running a business. I'm not running a charity organization. I have people, staff, and salaries that I pay. What do the numbers look like? But even just as important as what the numbers look like, what is the impact? What legacy am I leaving? If breath was taken from my body today, and I have this conversation with myself all the time, if breath was taken from my body today, have I done a good job of building up other people that understand the importance of giving back? I'm not interested in just collecting women to buy a ticket. I want women that understand the importance of legacy, women that understands the importance. Like even for me, we're building out this conference. I didn't just build this massive conference. I went and hired my teen girls who are interning with us, and they're also building it. Because it's not just about me getting ahead. It's about what took me 30 years to do takes my girls 20 years to do, and so on and so on. And so for me, that's how I currently measure success.
Yeah, brilliant. And what avenues do you use to market the event to make sure that it's a success, Lola?
Yeah, so to be honest, I haven't done a good job on marketing because my event was so successful organically. Marketing has not, that's just something we literally started doing like a month ago. Yeah. But right now we're doing Facebook ads. We're also doing affiliate marketing, which has been pretty successful for us as well. And we're doing influencer marketing.
What are the opportunities that you're most looking forward to in a post-COVID world?
I'm looking forward to actually getting together with a few hundred women, you know, like for an event. The virtual space is, from a profit standpoint, the virtual space is brilliant. But there's still nothing like the human touch, you know, the in-person experience. And I'm looking forward to getting women in a room and helping to give them the strategy, the inspiration, everything that they need for their next level. I really miss that. I'm also really excited about, I love wowing people. I don't know what it is about that. It's just, I'm addicted to it. Like, even for my conference, my team and I would go in back and forth like, okay, are we going to mail out the cute little gift box with the little things in it? I was like, I don't want to do that. Everybody's doing it. So for my conference, I got all of the women billboards for their business. And so when you purchase a ticket, instead of you getting a welcome packet, you actually get a billboard that you can promote your business nationally. And so I'm looking forward to creating wow experiences like that for women in person.
Yeah. I know you're passionate about helping mentor, coach, and develop other women. Where did this passion come from, and how did you go about doing this, Lola?
Yeah, as a teenager, I've always been extremely gifted, and I'm special. I didn't know it when I was younger. I just felt it. I didn't fit in. I was the person in high school where all of the cool kids loved me. I was cool with all the cool kids. But all of the kids that people call lames or dorks or geeks, they loved me too. I was cool with them too. Like, I was that person. I was able to navigate all worlds. Yeah. I could be with the rough kids, and then I could also be with the computer kids that nobody wanted to talk to. And I loved being in both worlds like that. But I felt so different. There was nobody else like me around me. The cool kids hung with the cool kids, and the geeks hung with the geeks. Whereas, like, I wanted us all to play together, you know, and I was in both worlds. And what it started to do in high school, it started to actually make me feel like there was something wrong with me, because I could not understand. I felt like I didn't have a place of belonging. Like, there was not a place where a person like me belonged, because even when I would try to bridge the worlds, those worlds didn't want to be bridged together. You know, the cool kids didn't want to hang out with the other kids, and the other kids didn't want to hang out with the cool kids. Yeah. And so it caused me to be very depressed in high school. We didn't have the terminology. I'm 35 now. So 20 years ago, we didn't use that type of terminology. You know, it wasn't that a teenager was depressed or that was something. Now I can identify it as me being depressed, but I was looking for a place of belonging. Mm. I was looking for a place of like being at home. Mm. And I didn't have mentors. I didn't have leaders. I didn't have people connected to me that saw what was on me, that could affirm me. And so in high school, I went throughout high school putting on a smile, being the nice, bubbly person, but I was suicidal all the time. There was one time I actually tried to kill myself because I just felt like I didn't belong. And then at home, my mom had me as a teenager. So I'm the daughter of a teenage mom when technically, you know, I grew up with her in a certain sense. And at home, though my mom was a very present mother, very all of that stuff, she didn't have the emotional real estate or maturity to help give me my identity because she was still growing in hers. So she didn't know how to come to me at that age and say, no, you are a leader and you're called to, people follow you for this. And so I was just lost. And so for me, the moment I started working with the First Lady, I knew I had to create something to where other people did not feel that. Other teen girls, which is why I started my nonprofit, did not feel that. And so that really came from a place of frustration and a place of me feeling like I didn't have anyone to serve me. And I think about this to this day. I'm 35 and I've done amazing things. Imagine what I would have done if I was sure of my identity in my teenage years. Yeah. Imagine what I would have done if it didn't take me almost 30 years to really gain my confidence and gain my momentum as a woman. And so for me, I am all about mentorship has the power and the ability to cut time in half. Yeah. And so what took a mentor 5 years to do could take you 2 years to do, 2.5 years to do. What took that mentor 2.5 takes you 1 year. And so for me, I am so passionate about that because I didn't have it. And I feel like it is such a need. And I feel like there are people right now that are like praying for that. They're lost. They don't know where they fit in. Even this concept, this is really one of the best concepts I feel like I have gotten revelation on. In my 20s, I was exhausting myself searching for purpose. Like, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? What did God create me for? It's a lot of people who are currently doing that. And now that I am 35 and I've seen life just a little bit of life, what I realize is that there's no pursuit of purpose. Purpose exists in the moment, right? So while we're trying to, well, what is the thing? Where am I? In the moment, the thing is for you to be present, right? Not necessarily looking for something or chasing something, but being present. And while you're present, looking and identifying what is in your hand. What is in your hand? That can look like what your current passions are. That can look like what your current responsibilities are. Like working what's in your hand and trusting the process that as you work, as you're present and as you're working what's currently in your hand, purpose is unfolded with time. Yeah. And so I am so passionate about that because I want to help people get to that place of understanding sooner than where I got to it.
Lola, the last 45 minutes have just absolutely flown by. I really feel like you're going to have to write a book. You've got so many amazing stories and you've been on an amazing journey. Do you think that's in the pipeline?
Yeah, I'm actually working on my first book.
Amazing. We'll put us down for a couple of copies. We want them to be signed as well. Lola, do you ever need closing thoughts? And what's the best way for people to follow your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So my closing thoughts are, and I always like to close with this, one thing I've realized in life and especially in business is that I tapped into a superpower when I learned how to partner with God. I did not have to do life and or business alone. And so I encourage people, whatever that might look like for you, whatever that divine power, whatever that higher power might look like for you, learning how to lean into that when life hits, learning how to lean into that when you're trying to get to the next level in business. That's been a game changer for me. I can be reached on all social media platforms as Lola Tomorrow. That's Lola Tomorrow, as in tomorrow, the next day, Tomorrow. Well,
Lola, we're going to make sure that we've got links to all of your social media in the description below, as well as to the event that's happening in a couple of weeks. We'll make sure that this gets out nice and early to give people a chance to join you on that event. Lola, thanks so much for your time. I've really enjoyed speaking to you.
Great. Nice talking to you as well.
Cheers.